The crystal chandeliers in my sister Victoria's dining room caught the afternoon light as I helped my daughter Emma adjust her dress. It was a simple cotton piece from Target, clean and pressed, but next to the designer outfits swirling around us, it might as well have been burlap. The other children wore clothes with labels I recognized from magazine spreads. Silk ribbons, hand-stitched details, shoes that cost more than our car payment. "Mommy, do I look okay?" Emma whispered, tugging at her collar. Her voice was small, uncertain in a way it never was at home. "You look beautiful, sweetheart," I said, smoothing her hair. And she did. Her natural beauty didn't need expensive fabric to shine through. My husband, Marcus, stood quietly by the entrance, his hands in the pockets of his khaki slacks. He wore a simple button-down shirt, no tie. In a room full of Armani and Versace, we were clearly the budget option. Victoria swept past us in a champagne-colored silk dress that probably cost more than our monthly grocery bill. Her heels clicked against the marble floor as she air-kissed arriving guests. "Darling," she called to someone behind us. "So glad you could make it to our little gathering." Little gathering. There were at least 60 people here for her anniversary party. The catering staff alone outnumbered our entire extended family. My mother approached, her expression carefully neutral. She'd mastered that look over the years, the one that said she was trying very hard not to compare her daughters. "Sarah, you made it," Mom said. "Not happy we came, just acknowledging that we had." Of course. 25 years is a big milestone for Victoria and James. "Yes, well." Mom glanced at Emma. "The child looks nice." Nice. The word hung in the air like a participation trophy. Emma's younger brother, 6-year-old Tyler, was holding Marcus's hand, staring wide-eyed at the elaborate dessert table. 3 tiers of delicacies he'd probably never seen before, arranged like edible art. "Can I have a cookie?" Tyler asked. Before I could answer, Victoria materialized beside us. "Those are imported macarons from a pâtisserie in Paris, not cookies. Perhaps the children would be more comfortable in the kitchen? The staff has some simpler options." Marcus's jaw tightened slightly, but he said nothing. "They're fine here," I said quietly. Victoria's smile was sharp. "Of course. How silly of me." She glided away and I felt Emma press closer to my side. The afternoon crawled forward. My father held court near the bar, discussing his latest real estate acquisition with James and several other men in expensive suits. My brother Daniel and his wife, Stephanie, were showing off photos of their recent Mediterranean cruise on an iPad. We stood near the window. Observing. Always observing. Aunt Sarah. My nephew Christopher, Daniel's eldest, ran up to us. He was 10 Emma's age. "Want to see my new watch? Dad got it in Switzerland. It costs more than a car." Emma looked down at her bare wrist. "That's very nice, Christopher," I said. "What did your dad get you?" he asked Emma innocently. "A library card," Emma said softly. "We go every Saturday." Christopher blinked. "Oh, that's free, right?" "Christopher, come here," Stephanie called. "Show the Hendersons your watch." He bounded away and I felt Emma's small hand slip into mine. Marcus had moved to the corner of the room. He was checking his phone, his expression unreadable. When he caught my eye, he gave a slight nod. "Everything okay?" I wasn't sure. Dinner was announced and we were seated at the far end of the long table, away from the main family cluster. The message was clear. We were included out of obligation, not desire. The meal was exquisite. 7 courses, each more elaborate than the last. Wine flowed freely, though Marcus and I stuck to water. We couldn't afford to lose focus in this environment. "So, Sarah," James said from the head of the table, his voice carrying over the conversation, "still working at that little clinic downtown?" "Yes," I said. "I'm a nurse practitioner now." "How admirable," Victoria interjected. "Working with the less fortunate. Very charitable of you." "I help people," I said simply. "Of course you do, dear." Mom patted my hand. "Someone has to." Marcus set down his fork carefully. Very carefully. After dinner, the adults gathered in the living room while the children were directed to the sunroom. Emma hesitated. "Go on, sweetie," I encouraged. "Tyler's already in there." She walked away slowly and I felt a knot form in my stomach. 10 minutes later she was back. Her eyes were red. "What happened?" I knelt beside her. The other kids. She started then stopped. Victoria appeared with several other women, all holding champagne flutes. Oh dear, is something wrong? Emma, what happened? I asked again, ignoring my sister. They said we don't belong here. That our clothes are from poor people's stores. The women behind Victoria exchanged glances. One of them, Amanda something, whispered to another not quite quietly enough. Well, they're not wrong. Victoria sipped her champagne. Children can be so honest, can't they? No filter. I stood up, my hand on Emma's shoulder. They learned it somewhere, I said evenly. Oh, don't be dramatic, Sarah. Kids notice differences. It's natural. Victoria's eyes swept over Emma's dress, my off-brand handbag, Marcus's department store shirt. Some families prioritize different things. You've chosen a more modest lifestyle. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with how we live, I said. Of course not. Victoria's voice was honey-sweet. Discount stores serve an important purpose. Where would people shop without them? Someone has to keep Target in business. The other women laughed, polite, tinkling laughs that made my skin crawl. Emma's tears started falling. Silent, dignified tears that broke my heart. Victoria, I said quietly, that's enough. I'm simply being honest. Look, Sarah, I love you, you're my sister. But let's not pretend. You show up to events in clearance rack clothing, your children look like they're dressed for a garage sale and you expect them to fit in with, she gestured around the room, all of this? Maybe it's time to acknowledge that not everyone belongs everywhere. The room had gone quiet. Everyone was listening now. No room for your discount store kids at this party, Victoria said, smiling that sharp smile. Perhaps next time a more age-appropriate gathering would be better for them. Chuck E. Cheese maybe? The women behind her snickered. Emma's face crumpled. And that's when Marcus stood up. He'd been sitting in a chair near the fireplace, so still I'd almost forgotten he was there. His phone was in his hand. Marcus, I said. He didn't look at me. He looked at Victoria, then at Emma, then at the entire room full of people who'd spent the evening making us feel small. Then he made a phone call. David? It's Marcus. Yes, I know it's Saturday. I need you to pull the property file for 2847 Riverside Boulevard. He paused. Yes, this one. I need documentation sent to my email within the hour. Complete ownership records. The room was silent now. Victoria's smile faltered slightly. Marcus, what are you? He held up one finger, still listening to his phone. Perfect. Also, I need you to contact the property management company. Effective immediately, I'm implementing a review of all current lease agreements. Another pause. Yes, all of them. Starting with the primary residence. He ended the call. Then Marcus turned to face the room. His voice was calm, almost conversational. This house, he said, gesturing around the ornate living room, 2847 Riverside Boulevard. Victorian architecture, 6 bedrooms, renovated in 2019. Estimated market value of $3.2 million. Victoria laughed nervously. Yes, James and I worked very hard too. You rent it, Marcus said simply. The champagne glass in Victoria's hand stopped halfway to her lips. I own it, Marcus continued. I own this house. I own the property management company that processes your lease payments. I've owned it since 2018, 2 years before you moved in. The color drained from Victoria's face. That's not, James started. Marcus pulled out his phone, tapped the screen a few times and held it up. Lease agreement. Signed by James Hartford and Victoria Hartford. Monthly rent, $12,000. Landlord, MW Property Holdings. He looked at them. MW. Marcus Williams. That's me. My father set down his drink. That's not possible. I also own 4 other properties on this street. The entire eastern block, actually. Bought them through various LLCs between 2015 and 2020. Property development has been very good to me. Marcus's voice remained perfectly even. I kept it quiet because Sarah preferred it that way. She didn't want family dynamics to change. She wanted to be treated normally. He paused, letting that sink in. The room was frozen. 60 people who'd spent hours judging us, now realizing they'd been celebrating in a building owned by the man they'd dismissed as beneath them. The law firm that handled Victoria's lease? The inspection company that approved your renovations? I own that too. Every upgrade you've made, every modification to this property, passed through companies I control. He looked at Victoria. But normal apparently means watching my daughter cry because she's wearing a Target dress to a party in a house I own. Victoria's hand was shaking. Why would you hide this? Why would you let us think? Think what? Marcus asked. That you were better than us? That your designer clothes and catered parties made you superior? He gestured to Emma. She's 10 years old, Victoria. She didn't choose discount stores. We did. Because we'd rather invest in her college fund and her brother's education than in Italian leather and French macarons. Stephanie had gone pale. Daniel, did you know about this? My brother looked like he'd been slapped. Mom sank into a chair. Sarah, you never said. You never asked, I said quietly. You just assumed. Marcus walked over to Emma and knelt down to her level. Hey kiddo. That dress? Your mom and I picked it because you loved the color. You said it made you feel like a princess. Remember? Emma nodded, wiping her eyes. You are a princess. And don't let anyone tell you different. He stood up, keeping his hand on her shoulder. Then he looked at Victoria again. Your lease is up for renewal in 3 months. Given this evening's events, I'll be reviewing whether to offer a renewal or list the property for sale. I'll let you know my decision in 30 days. Victoria's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. The sound echoed through the silent room. Marcus, please, she whispered. This is our home. Our life. We've decorated, we've invested. Into a rental property, Marcus said. Which you can be evicted from with 60 days notice if the owner chooses not to renew. Standard lease terms. You signed them. James had gone gray. We can't afford to move. Not right now. The business expansion, the cars. Perhaps you should have considered that before mocking my children for their clothing choices. Marcus's voice was ice. Sarah wanted to come today. She wanted Emma and Tyler to know their extended family. She wanted them to feel connected to you all. He looked around the room at the frozen faces. Instead, you taught them that cruelty comes in expensive packaging. My father finally found his voice. Now let's not be hasty. Victoria made a mistake, but... A mistake is an accident, Marcus said. This was deliberate. Calculated. And it wasn't just today. It's been every family gathering for 5 years. The comments. The exclusions. The subtle and not so subtle reminders that we don't measure up to your standards. He picked up Emma even though she was getting too big for it. She wrapped her arms around his neck. We measure up just fine, Marcus said. We just measure different things. Wait, Victoria's voice cracked. Please, can we talk about this? Privately. Marcus looked at me. I looked at our daughter's tear-stained face, then at Tyler peeking around the doorway from the sunroom, confused by all the tension. No, I said softly. I don't think so. Not today. We walked toward the door. Behind us, the silence was deafening. Sarah. Mom called out. Don't leave like this. We can fix. I turned back. Fix what, Mom? The fact that you've spent 5 years treating my family like charity cases? The fact that you measure worth in price tags? That ends today. Marcus opened the front door. The evening air was cool and clean. As we reached the car, Emma spoke quietly. Dad? Are they really going to have to move? Marcus buckled her into her seat. Maybe. Maybe not. That's up to them. Will we ever see them again? I got into the passenger seat and turned to look at my children. I don't know, babies. But I know this. Wherever we go, whatever we do, we're enough. Just as we are. Marcus started the engine. As we pulled away from the house worth $3.2 million, Emma asked one more question. Dad, if you own all those houses, why do we still shop at Target? Marcus smiled, the first real smile I'd seen from him all day. Because Target has everything we need, kiddo. And we'd rather save money for experiences than things. Remember our camping trip last summer? That was the best, Tyler piped up. Better than a Swiss watch? Marcus asked. Way better, Emma said, her tears finally dry. In the rearview mirror, I could see the lights of Victoria's house blazing in the dusk. Inside, a family was probably having a very different conversation than they'd planned for this evening. My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. We need to talk. Then Stephanie, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Then Mom, please call me. I turned off my phone. Marcus reached over and took my hand. You okay? I will be, I said. And I meant it. Because for the first time in years, my children had seen that their worth wasn't determined by price tags or champagne parties. It was determined by dignity, respect, and the quiet strength of knowing who you are. Even if you're wearing a Target dress when you discover it,